From the UNC Hussman School of Journalism and Media, connecting Carolina's campus and community, this is Carolina Week.
Some fans will be inside the Dean Dome for round 2 of the Battle of the Blues, but the university and town are worried about potential post-game celebrations. Good afternoon, I'm Nick Perlin.
And I'm Erin Jenkins, but first, some big news for many in the Carolina community who are waiting to get vaccinated. UNC faculty and students working essential jobs are eligible to receive their COVID-19 vaccine beginning today. Governor Roy Cooper has announced that the state's vaccination plan is running ahead of schedule, allowing more essential frontline workers in Group 3 to get the vaccine. He also announced Group 4, consisting of those with underlying medical conditions and those who live in congregate settings, will be eligible beginning March 24th. This comes just after the federal government authorized the distribution of Johnson & Johnson one-dose vaccine. Faculty and students who fall into the essential frontline workers category will need to register online with the state to make any vaccination appointment.
Another big announcement from the governor is that sporting events are now allowed to open at 15% capacity. For UNC students, this means you now have a chance to be back in the Smith Center to cheer on the Tar Heels. COVID-19 guidelines will be enforced at the game. UNC's athletic director Bubba Cunningham said in a statement, "Our staff has worked closely with the university and local health officials to formulate a plan that will continue to emphasize community standards. Visitors will be required to sit at least 6 feet apart, masks will be required, and everyone is expected to continue to do everything they can to keep each other safe. Our priorities will be to continue to allow family members of student athletes and coaches, as well as Carolina students, into our arenas." The lottery for the Duke game is underway. If you want to go, be sure to enter your name in the lottery before noon tomorrow. All winners will receive 2 tickets.
Rushing Franklin Street after a UNC basketball win over Duke is a tradition many students look forward to. It happened earlier this semester, even though students were told not to go. Reporter Ava Pukach takes a look at how the town and university are preparing for a potential crowd Saturday evening.
Messaging from the town and university is encouraging members of the community to not rush Franklin Street in the event of a win Saturday. Hundreds of students flooded Franklin Street 1 month ago after UNC conquered Duke in their first matchup of the season.
While many Tar Heel fans look forward to rushing Franklin Street, this year the town and university are encouraging everyone to stay home and celebrate.
The February 6th event did not result in a super spreader of cases, but this doesn't mean it's safe for people to do it again. With the game being at home and limited fans allowed inside the Dean Dome, the town and university are preparing for a potential larger group to rush Franklin. Chapel Hill Mayor Pam Heminger says making these plans isn't easy.
It's hard. You want to prepare to block off cars so that in case people do rush out, they're not going to get hit by a car. Yet when you go ahead and block it off, that sends an invitation that you can rush out and, be in the street.
They've also been discussing ways fans can safely celebrate a Tar Heel win. Some suggestions range from having Zoom watch parties to yelling from your homes throughout the town.
I think that would be cool to have the whole town celebrate from their own place and not rush Franklin Street, not be in a big cohort.
Wherever fans choose to watch and celebrate the game this weekend, they're encouraged to practice the 3 W's to prevent the spread of COVID-19. In Chapel Hill, Ava Pukach, Carolina Week.
President Biden has signed many executive orders benefiting undocumented people in the United States. But how do these orders impact undocumented UNC students? Reporter Julian Berger is live at the Carolina Latinx Center with more. Julian?
Yes, that's right, Nick. President Biden has signed these executive orders into action, such as preserving and fortifying deferred action for childhood arrivals, also known as DACA. And this can help many UNC undocumented students. However, according to some experts, there is more that should be done.
Following on the heels of the Trump administration, many people think of these as Trumpian problems or as Republican initiatives, but they're not, right? Obama was nicknamed by immigration advocates the deporter-in-chief because of the extreme number of undocumented folks who were deported during his years in the White House.
Dr. Angela Stacey is one of the founders of Undocu Carolina, a UNC organization committed to supporting undocumented students and faculty. She says sometime soon, we can expect to see the largest and most progressive immigration reform bill yet to pass through Congress.
And I think what he's suggesting Congress do is really bold and sweeping and trying to address a lot of issues that come into this very complex picture that is U.S. immigration system.
325,000 North Carolinians are undocumented, and 25,000 are DACA recipients. She hopes the proposed legislation and President Biden's executive actions will create a sense of reassurance and relief for undocumented immigrants and their families.
To be able to sort of step out of the shadows, to be able to drive to work or to go to class and not be worried about whether either myself or my loved one is going to be taken, right? Or whether my family is going to be separated.
However, according to Stacey and many others, there is still much more that needs to be done for undocumented students at UNC beyond a pathway to citizenship.
We are still in a situation in our state where undocumented people are not eligible for in-state tuition. They are not eligible for any federal financial aid or loans. It makes it really difficult to afford college.
Stacey also told me Undocu Carolina stands ready with other UNC on-campus organizations to help undocumented students with any needs or concerns that they should have. Reporting live at the Carolina Latinx Center in Chapel Hill, I'm Julian Berger, Carolina Week.
With award show season ramping up, many are excited to see their favorite celebrities and creators take home the ultimate prize. Reporter Trevor Stevenson sits down with a local award nominee to talk about his major accomplishment.
Award show season looks to be in full swing with the Golden Globes this past Sunday and Oscar nominations coming out later this month. With COVID-19 still preventing large gatherings like award ceremonies, it looks like we may be rolling down a red carpet right down the road in Carrboro. Cartoonist and Carrboro resident Keith Knight has made big strides this past year as his Hulu comedy series Woke premiered in September, where he also made a cameo.
But it's really just about a cartoonist who's on the verge of mainstream success, who has a traumatizing incident with the police that sort of upends his whole world. And he starts to see inanimate objects become animated, and they speak truth.
The comedic show's topic of police brutality reflected the Black Lives Matter events and protests that occurred in the summer of 2020. Last month, Knight was nominated for an NAACP Image Award in the Breakthrough Creative category. The nomination comes perfectly timed as writers and crew begin to work on the second season and capturing the summer of 2020.
Since we shot the first season in February of last year, we missed out on everything that happened over the summer. So we sort of want to open up the season in that, which is what happens when supposedly everybody becomes woke.
The NAACP Image Awards air March 27th at 8 p.m. You can check out some of Knight's cartoons on his website, kchronicles.com, or watch Woke on Hulu now. Reporting in Chapel Hill, Trevor Stevenson, Carolina Week.
It's possible Keenan Memorial Stadium could be flooded with blue and white cap and gowns in May 2021.
And we're live.
The Campus and Community Advisory Committee is discussing the possibility of in-person spring commencement. This comes after 80% of spring graduating seniors opted for an in-person ceremony in a survey. Keenan Stadium is a potential spot for a socially distanced graduation with proper protocols in place for COVID-19 safety. No official decisions have been made, and the ceremony could shift virtual based on COVID numbers. But Chancellor Kevin Guskowitz is expected to announce official plans in the next 2 weeks. Some UNC courses are slowly returning back to campus, but not all students have to physically go to the classroom in order to engage in their in-person class. Reporter Grace Wilson has the story.
In an effort to get students back in the classroom while still giving them the option to learn remotely,
UNC has converted some of its classrooms into a HighFlex space. These rooms are outfitted with ceiling microphones and multiple cameras so professors can stream their in-person classes to remote students via Zoom. Professor John Patrick's policy class recently transitioned into a HighFlex learning space in Peabody. Junior Brittany Klein was excited to get back in the classroom for a sense of normalcy.
I also really have enjoyed going to class, having that social interaction, the classroom setting where the teacher is right in front of you. I definitely realized how much I missed it.
When Klein attended class virtually for one day, she noticed a slight disconnect between the in-person class and those on Zoom.
I think it's very hard for the professors to remember to engage both the people on Zoom and the people in person. Sometimes like the professor goes out of frame and you're just like staring at a blank classroom, and it was definitely a little weird, but you can still learn both ways.
Sophomore Hannah Berger initially decided to remain virtual, not wanting to go in a classroom after many students rushed Franklin Street, but she tried going in person after feeling left out on Zoom.
It was like a lot better of an experience just because like it felt like a lot more normal. I didn't feel like disconnected, so it just like felt a lot better to be around people.
Berger also felt safe in the classroom with COVID protocols being enforced.
Everyone wore their masks properly, which was like really reassuring. Most people, or a couple people, were even double masked, which was nice. Windows were open, everyone was spaced out. I never felt weird about it.
Both Berger and Klein expressed that they preferred the HighFlex Classroom rather than staying completely remote or in person because of the flexibility it provides them during such uncertain times. In Chapel Hill, Grace Wilson, Carolina Week.
The UNC Nursing School will soon have a whole new way to educate its students. The UNC School of Nursing has received a $6.8 million donation, the largest in the school's history. Given by the Hellenfold Health Trust, the money will go towards $500,000 in scholarship for second career nursing students and towards renovations of Carrington Hall. The building will be home to a world-class nursing simulation center. Nursing students will be able to practice working with a simulated patients, health conditions, and medical situations as if they were occurring in a hospital setting while still allowing room for error as they learn.
We have awesome resources now, but the more realistic that they can make those, the better, just because it's the transition from lab to actual clinical setting can be really daunting. So the simulation center is definitely going to be probably for all the like skills and things like that, which will be really cool.
The simulation center is aimed to keep UNC nursing schools ranked as the #1 public nursing school in the country. Renovations are scheduled to begin in January of 2023. Joining clubs out of hundreds available at Carolina can be very overwhelming, but joining virtually can feel nearly impossible. Reporter Kaylee Howard has more on how some first years are getting involved around campus.
One of the most important parts of the college experience is participating in clubs and campus organizations. Members typically get the word out to first years through annual events like Fall Fest and pit sitting, but because of COVID, it's harder to recruit new students. First-year student Madison Broom said she's having a hard time plugging into campus clubs.
Honestly, I feel like I haven't gotten a ton of information. I've definitely gotten some emails, but just like, oh, join like a virtual Zoom, and that's just not as like appealing to want to try and like get plugged in when you can't really meet the people.
While meeting virtually is difficult, some students say that even before they were first sent home in September, that they didn't see a lot happening on campus. First-year student Annalie Breedlove says when she and her roommates would walk through the pit, there were no tables set up advertising different clubs.
I went to a couple events with some campus ministries because that's something I really wanted to explore, but I would say even that I was kind of looking for it.
After returning home for the semester, it was even more difficult to connect with others virtually.
To be honest, especially once classes started, like if we were on Zoom all day for class, it's kind of hard to want to like socialize online after we just like felt like we've been online for school all day.
Broom says as a first year, it's hard to want to get connected into a club without already having a connection on UNC's campus. While she does think UNC is doing the best they can, she has some suggestions.
Maybe hearing from specific like individual clubs instead of like, oh, come to this whole small fest and like see everything at once can be a little bit more overwhelming when it's on Zoom.
In Chapel Hill, Kaylee Howard, Carolina Week.
One cause, one family, one day. That's this year's slogan for the state's largest student-run nonprofit organization. Carolina for the Kids raised more than $10,000 during their 24-hour fundraising event this past Thursday and Friday. The money will go to children and family of the UNC Children's Hospitals.
And just because COVID is happening and just because we haven't been able to do the same things with fundraising as we normally do, there are a lot of programs that still rely pretty heavily on our organization, and we just wanted to do as much as possible as we could to maintain that.
CFTK partnered with local businesses to raise money during the event. Members also posted Instagram stories with fun ways to fundraise. CFTK competed in a Venmo war with NC State's dance marathon during the one-day campaign. Carolina was the winner of the Venmo war and is thankful for all the support they received.
UNC Campus Recreation is encouraging Tar Heels to stay active, but they want them to stay safe while doing it. Campus Rec now requires appointments to use the 2 on-campus gyms. Each time slot is 2 hours long with 1 hour in between to clean. They also ask students a set of questions about their COVID-19 exposure before letting them work out. Blue tape lines the machines to let students know where to stand and walk. But senior Wesley Leonhardt thinks there could be more precautions taken.
One thing that they don't do, which I'm really surprised because I've heard other gyms do this, is take your temperature when you go. They don't do anything regarding that. It's just self-diagnosed questions.
Students can still use the gyms to try to stay active, but many say they hope to see some changes soon.
Choosing a college is a major decision for many high school seniors. And for those considering UNC, the process is a little different because of the pandemic. Reporter Lindsay Banks has the story.
It's a high school senior's rite of passage, touring colleges in hopes of finding the perfect fit. But because of the pandemic, in-person campus tours at UNC have come to a halt. The undergraduate admissions office has adapted to offer a virtual experience.
It's like a panel version, I guess. It's not necessarily like walking around campus. So it's usually 2 ambassadors and then with like some kind of office member kind of giving specific details. And then the 2 students are the 2 ambassadors are the ones kind of giving their own personal experience about the university.
Students and their families can submit questions throughout the panel to ask about student life, academics, and the admissions process. The admissions office has also created a self-guided tour where potential students can click on some of the hot spots on campus, like the Pit and Old Well, to learn more about them.
I think it's definitely an excellent resource, especially for kids like who live far away or who wouldn't have been able to go tour it even if COVID hadn't happened. And I hope it's something that schools continue to offer.
While these tours still do offer a way for students to get to know UNC, admissions ambassadors say they miss offering the in-person experience.
Especially when you do the basically virtual panels, you can't necessarily see the people. So you they can see me talking and they can see the office member, but I can't see them. So it's a little strange sometimes because I feel like I'm talking to nobody.
The admissions office will continue the virtual tour experience into the summer, meaning no in-person tours will be held on campus. In Chapel Hill, I'm Lindsay Banks, Carolina Week.
The next Carolina Week, we'll take a more in-depth look at the virtual tour the UNC's Visitor Center has created.
You know, Nick, touring Carolina really sold me on the university, so I'm hoping those students can get back to campus to tour soon.
I agree, and the weather's been so nice. I've been visiting some of my favorite spots on campus, like the Old Well. So what can we expect for the rest of the week? Carolina Week meteorologist Malcolm Byron is here with our forecast. Malcolm?
Well, boy, don't the warm temperatures just feel oh so nice on the skin. We're in the upper 50s at this hour. We'll be in the low 60s over the next couple of hours, and that's just a taste of what's to come over the next couple of months. Spring is just around the corner, and March is just sort of the transition month in towards spring. March 1st marked the beginning of meteorological spring, and on March 1st we saw 11 hours and 26 minutes of daylight. We'll gain about an hour of daylight as we head towards the end of the month, about 12 and a half hours by March 31st, and as you might expect, As we head towards the summer months, temperatures are actually going to be on their way up. 59 is the average high March 1st. How about upper 60s by the end of the month? And even low temperatures are going to be rebounding. Average lows 36 degrees on March 1st, 44 by March 31st. So things are looking up from here, especially if you like the warmer weather. So it's pretty nice outside today, just the milky sunshine overhead. There is a disturbance to our south, and that's causing some rain to our south, but none of that rain is going to make its way to our area. At this hour, most of the rain is pushing offshore, and as that rain pushes offshore, so is our cloud cover that's overhead right now, and we're remaining dry for the remainder of the day today, and really that's a trend that's going to persist into the weekend. Mostly sunny skies tomorrow. It's another warm one as well, 62 the forecast high. We're a bit cooler though as we head into the weekend. Morning time lows close to freezing, so yeah, it'll be cold there, but the afternoons aren't too bad. Highs in the low to mid 50s. Maybe some cloud cover moving in on Friday, but we're mostly clear Saturday and Sunday. So bottom line, things are dry over the next 5 days, and all indications are that this dry trend is going to persist into early next week.
Thanks, Malcolm. This is the first week bars and taverns have been operating under Governor Roy Cooper's new guidelines. With the COVID cases trending downward across the state, the governor is allowing bars and taverns to offer indoor services at 30% capacity. The cutoff time to buy alcohol has also been increased by 2 hours, from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Under the new order, the indoor gatherings limit has gone from 10 to 25, while outdoor gatherings are still capped at 50 people. For Chapel Hill, this means bars like He's Not Here will be able to stay open later, and others like Goodfellas will now be open for indoor seating for the first time in almost a year.
The loosening up of capacity restrictions is good news for many places in Chapel Hill. Reporter Anna Blunt introduces us to one restaurant which began business in the pandemic.
Summit Coffee opened its doors in early October, a time when many Chapel Hill favorites were having to shut their doors due to COVID-19. The new shop located on Franklin Street is focusing on building community during a time when everyone needs it.
We want to come in here, we want to make a difference, we want to be good neighbors and have and create some good impacts for the community around us.
Summit Coffee was founded on Davidson College's Main Street, but after traveling to the Triangle, owners saw Chapel Hill as the perfect place to expand.
And we just love the vibe that college towns have, and Franklin Street is just so vibrant and there's always so much going on, and we really wanted to be a part of that.
Not only can you get a great cup of coffee at Summit, but your purchase can benefit a local charity.
We do a lot of social outreach and a lot of work with fundraising for some local charities and all sorts of stuff, which I think is a really fun thing. We want to be a spot where everyone can feel safe, everyone can feel comfortable hanging out and enjoying a really good cup of coffee.
In Chapel Hill, Anna Blunt, Carolina Week.
Let's go now to sports anchor Josh Connor with a look at a busy week in Carolina athletics. Josh?
Thanks, Nick. The men's basketball team traveled to Syracuse Monday night, still trying to bolster its resume to get into the postseason. The Heels got out to a quick start as Leaky Black gets the steal and drives it home for a monstrous dunk. The Orange rallied back, though, taking a 6-point lead going into half. After the break, though, the Tar Heels continued to trail and struggle defensively. With less than 2 minutes to go, Caleb Love provided a spark on offense as he hits a big-time three. Love continued to battle as he drives to the basket, bringing the Heels within 2 points. The Heels' efforts came a little too late, though, as Syracuse ultimately secures the 72-70 win. And once again, Carolina's turnovers proved costly in this one.
Bottom line is I haven't gotten them to understand how important the possession of the ball is. I've got to do a better job of getting them to understand borderline plays can't be made.
The Tar Heels will look to end the regular season on the right note with a big win against Duke on Saturday. The UNC women's basketball team kicks off the ACC tournament Thursday against Wake Forest, and here's what you can expect, fans. The Heels are the number 8 seed, and with an overall record of 13-9, they'll have to work hard for this win. The Demon Deacons are the number 9 seed with 11 wins and 11 losses. The Heels have the upper hand statistically, though. UNC faced Wake twice this season, winning once and losing once. Both games were close. The first time the Heels faced the Demon Deacons, the Heels lost by only 3 points. The second matchup ended in overtime as a Wake Forest player attempted to even the score with a 3-point shot at the buzzer, but the ball bounced off the rim, giving the Heels a 77-74 victory. Game time for this is at noon tomorrow. The UNC men's golf team finished second in the Wake Forest Invitational at Pinehurst No. 2 on Tuesday afternoon. First year Peter Fountain shot 4 under 206, the second lowest individual score. The Tar Heels shot a 3 over 843 for 3 rounds, good enough for second place behind Wake Forest. After 2 rounds of the women's Gamecock Intercollegiate Tournament, the Heels sit tied in 13th place. 19 strokes off the lead, Nicole Adam is leading the way for Carolina, carding a 2-day total of 1 under par, tied for 9th place. The final round of the tournament is this afternoon. Jamie Ortega is the all-time leading goal scorer for Carolina women's lacrosse. Hitting that mark earned her the ACC Co-Offensive Player of the Week. After breaking Abby Friend's record with her 199th career goal, Ortega earned the ACC Co-Offensive Player of the Week honor. Ortega scored 8 goals and notched 4 assists in the Tar Heels' 2 victories against Duke and Vanderbilt. With another honor like that, Ortega continues to show why she's been a major part of the foundation of this top-ranked team. That's all I've got for sports. Nick and Aaron, back to you guys.
Thanks, Josh. Well, as I'm sure many of you already know, the pandemic has made school a little more stressful.
Yeah, Nick, I can definitely relate to that. But the good news is that getting help for that stress is now a little bit easier. Reporter Jacob Messer has more on how the university is adapting its mental health resources in a virtual environment.
The COVID-19 pandemic has affected every aspect of college life, forcing most classes to go remote and most student activities to either follow suit or shut down. Mental health providers have also been conducting teletherapy, and they say they're stretched pretty thin. According to a poll by the American Psychological Association, mental health care providers were seeing more patients with anxiety disorders, 74%, and depressive disorders, 60%, than before the pandemic began. The shortage of providers, coupled with the sudden change in the university environment, creates its own set of mental health hurdles for students. Namely, they can't come here, to CAPS, for an in-person appointment since all therapy is being conducted online. Wendy Cadence, who oversees the COVID-19 student support group at CAPS, says the transition to online therapy has actually made mental health care more accessible on campus.
Of course, it was sort of not like we said, hey, we've got an idea, let's start learning how to do teletherapy. But at the same time, I think it also created a lot of opportunity for us. We're hearing, from students that they're enjoying, in some ways, some of the benefit of therapy online.
UNC senior Kaylee Carpenter agrees.
I think that telehealth has been really helpful for a lot of people in taking that initiative when they might be a little bit more hesitant to go in person and sit with someone they've never met before and be completely honest with them.
CAPS is reachable 24/7 by phone for immediate help with any mental health situation. In Chapel Hill, Jacob Messer, Carolina Week.
Nick, I think it's really great that these resources are now available to all of us, even if we're not in person on campus right now.
I totally agree with you, Aaron. With all the crazy things going on, the pandemic, school, it's, your mental health is super important. So everyone should definitely do what they can to take care of it.
I definitely agree. And looking forward, we have those wellness days next week. So I'm thinking about just taking a couple days to myself. What about you, Nick?
Oh, I'm going to lay in bed all day. I'm going to order a pizza. I'm going to watch Netflix, and I'm going to have my phone off. No one talk to me. I'm in my own zone for those wellness days.
Nothing sounds better than that. Thanks for watching this edition of Carolina Week.
Have a good one.